And welcome to the multiverse of business. I'm Jack.
I'm Chuck.
And as you can see on the sign behind Chuck, we are be talking today about the Multiverse of Business Podcast, episode 2, your first 10 sales calls and how not to panic. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can see below, but if you're listening to us on any of our other areas of broadcast, you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube under the Multiverse of Business. So please go listen back to episode 0 and episode 1 and catch up with us so you can be a partner in this roller coaster that we are calling a podcast. Chuck, today, as your sign says, the first 10 sales calls and how not to panic. This is right up my alley. I do sales for a living, and I will tell you right now that I see it 100% of the time. A sales rep goes in, has not prepared, has not done any of the research, and they go to pick up that phone for the first time, or they go knock on the door for the first time, and they absolutely blank. So I know you're not necessarily in a sales role. What type of questions, or where are you thinking? Where someone should start out with a sales call?
Yeah. So I think that there's two reasons for a sales call, right? We have the first reason, which is just we're selling a product. You have a prospect that you probably got from your setters or some kind of leads that came in through a company's website or something. Or Jack, maybe in your case, I know you've done a lot of you driving around. You see a contractor. You get his number off the side of his car and you give him a call. So in my idea of sales calls, there's kind of two, right? The first one, you're selling the product, you're selling the service, you're getting directly into kind of the pitch because you know the person, you probably have rapport or they're a warm lead that reached out. But I also think that a lot of people miss is the first type of sales call is the prospecting call, right? It's the call just to say, hey, this is who I am. Hey, what do you do? Hey, maybe you don't have a product or service yet, but you have an ideal customer. So you're calling those customers to figure out what they need. So it's a lot of trying to figure out if it's the prospecting sales call or is it the I'm here calling to sell a product or service sales call kind of comes to mind. How about you?
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. I will tell you this: if you are not doing prospecting calls, if you are not out there hunting, is what I like to call it. Um, you are not doing yourself a service at all. You are leaving money on the table. You are leaving customers behind, and you are not doing your job as a sales rep if you are not out there prospecting. If you are just out there talking to customers who have already bought from you, you are losing out to attrition. You're losing out to people who have decided to branch off from their current business and start their own business. You are missing out on a lot of opportunities, and you are the sales rep that's making the excuse that I can't find someone to sell to. That's why my numbers are down.
Gotcha. Yeah, I agree. So would you say that the goal for it is really on the prospecting is really to just to to explore the needs, the desires, the problems that the customer or the clientele is having, right? So you're going to be coming in with open-ended questions like, "Hey,
Yeah,
what are the pain points you've been seeing in this?
yeah.
What problems are you having with your current solution for XYZ? If you had a magic wand, what would you wave to
Yep.
fix, or what would be the first thing you would fix? Those are kind of the questions on a prospecting call. Very open-ended, kind of let them guide the conversation. So that's kind of my idea is the main goal for a prospecting call. What do you think about that?
Absolutely. You should be doing 80% of the listening and only 20% of the talking. If it is the other way around, you are doing it wrong. You have to think of a prospecting call. You have to think of your job as you're constantly in multiple relationships. Okay. You are constantly dating other people. That prospecting call is your first date. That is your introduction to this person. That is how they will perceive you from this moment forward. And if you go in there and all you do is pitch, and try to sell this person on something without getting to know them, without getting to know their business, without getting to know their needs, without getting to know, as you said, their pain points, you're never going to get anywhere with this customer. You may get a sale. Don't let me tell you that you're not. You may get a sale or two, but you're missing out on building the foundation of a relationship that could take it from a sale or two sales and make this a big customer for you, whatever big is for your company, $50,000, $100,000, $250,000, $1 million customer, because you didn't take the time in the very beginning to find out what this person actually needs, what this business actually does, and how you can be of service to them. You have to remember, as a sales rep, you are in the service industry. You are a service person. If you're not building that relationship and finding out what they need, you can't help them in the future. You may stumble on some things as things come up, but you're not going to be the partner in their business that you should be. You're just going to be an order taker. And if you're an order taker, you're not doing the job right.
Yeah, I agree with that. From my perspective, I have not been the salesperson. I've been the person that's been being sold something, or if somebody's giving me the service. So I'm always the buyer, we'll call it, right? And so I think that's exactly right. I can tell you from experience, being on this side probably for 15 years, if you come in and all you want to do is sell, you're saying, hey, I have X, Y, Z, and this is the price. I have this is the price. This is the quantity. If that's all you're focused on, the likelihood of you're getting in the door at any significance, like you said, is very minimal. The persistency does pay off, but I think that it only takes you so far. And without the relationship building aspect of the sales, you're not going to get in. You're not going to be able to achieve your goals. You're not going to hit the numbers. And ultimately, you're just going to get your calls ignored. You're going to get your emails going to the spam box, and you're basically going to get frustrated with your approach. And after you burn that bridge, because you're not really burning a bridge, people are just not going to pay attention anymore. It's very hard to get back where you're getting their attention.
Yeah, you're going to be walking up to the door. They're going to see your phone number on the phone, and it's going to be an eye roll, and it's this guy again. What's he going to try to sell me this time? Instead of, oh man, it's Jack. I know he's bringing me something, or I know he has something of value to tell me when I pick up this phone or when I let him in my door. That's the feeling you want to instill in your customers, is you want them to be happy to see you, and they know that you're bringing something to the table. It doesn't matter if it's big or small, but you're coming there with some sort of information. You're not just there to sell a product every time you walk through that door.
Yeah. In the prospecting call, you're there to collect information, but if you've done your research of the person you're meeting with, you should have something to give them. In my industry, it was sales data of where their product falls with other products in the industry, or how we're doing as a retailer or customer in the overall industry, so we know where our sales are compared to other people in the industry. Always be bringing some kind of educational information to help that person, because then you are giving and giving and giving, and then when you finally make an ask, as you've seen a lot of these other people talk about when it's B2C, you'll be able to have that goodwill and you'll have reciprocity in your side, compared to if you just always ask and never give anything. You're not going to have goodwill. You're not going to have reciprocity. It's probably not going to go well.
I like what you said there, not to stop you, but to stop you for a second, making the ask. Once you give and you give and you give and you take in that information, don't be afraid to make the ask. Like, you've talked to them enough at that point, right? If you've gathered the information, you know their needs at this point, you know their pain points, you have a solution, you've presented the solution to them. it doesn't stop there. You have to ask for the business. You have to ask for the sale. 9 times out of 10, people stop at right before the ask. And if you don't ask, you're not getting it. I don't know how many times I've sat there and said, look, we've gone over this, we've gone over that. You know how to put this up. How much of this do you need, and when can I deliver it to you? I'm asking for the business. I'm not walking out of the building. If I've developed a relationship, if I've built up a rapport in the 15, 20 minutes that we've talked to each other, and I know you have a need and I can service that need, I'm asking you for the business.
Agreed. So, we kind of went over the prospecting sales call. We've talked a lot about, I guess, moving into the actual sales. Your goal, obviously, sell something. The approach is really to focus on all the information that came from the prospecting and the relationship building, and to then start addressing all those issues that the customer is having and how your product would fix that. Right. And then the outcome there is obviously close to sale, like you were just saying. We want to ask for the sale, and if we built all the rapport we could, we're going to go ahead and get into the part where they're going to reciprocate. They're going to, eventually grant you the sale. So, what's the learning curve look like? If I was brand new to sales, Jack, how many times do I need to go through the call process before I'm going to start feeling, comfortable and not be panicked?
I'm glad you said the word comfortable. You need to be comfortable being uncomfortable. I don't think you're ever 100% comfortable. If you are, I think you've gotten into a rut. There should always be butterflies in your stomach. There should always be excitement when you're going out on that first prospecting call. I will say the learning curve to get to the point to where you feel comfortable being uncomfortable, you're talking maybe 3 months of doing, I would say, 30 calls a day, whether those are planned calls, in-person calls, phone calls, however you're doing it, however your business requires you to do it. I know I'm required to do 3 to 4 in-person visits, scheduled visits a day. I'm required to do, I believe it's 3 to 4 more cold calls in a day. And then I'm required to make 20 phone calls in a day. I have to do all of that in one day to reach what my goals are supposed to be, or what my company sets forth as my goals, right? If you're not living up to something like that, it's going to be difficult. If you're only making 3 or 4 calls a day, it's going to be hard getting comfortable in that uncomfortable space.
And so, Jack, I want to pause you there for a second.
Yeah.
I think everything you said was great. So that really goes back to the preparation, though, right? You said these are my things I have to do to be able to hit my quota. So
Yes.
your company's already said that if we want to hit $1 million, let's say, $1 million divided by 52 weeks, divided by however many days, divided by the average customer sales is going to give me the total number of sales that I need for that day or week. You round up, whatever. And then that's going to say, well, if Jack reaches out 100 times and he closes 10%, that 10% has to equal that number of sales for that week, that day, or whatever. And that's how your company came up with those numbers. So if somebody was listening to this, and let's say I wanted to sell $100,000 this year, well, I would have to say $100,000 by 52 weeks. Let's take 2 weeks off because I like easy math. It's $2,000 a week, right? We took a vacation for Christmas and New Year. So I need $2,000 a week. Well, if my average sales is only $1,000, but my close rate's only 10%, well, that tells me I need to make 20 calls a week.
Yep.
And probably need to make 30 because my close rate's average, and some weeks I'm not going to close all 10%. So really, it's looking at the preparation of what you want to do, working the numbers backwards. Somebody new is not going to have all these percent close or whatever. You could go look at industry norms and find that online. I would say, if you're cold calling and you're closing, probably 10 to 15%, that's probably high. you're probably if you're just cold calling, you're probably going to close closer to like 2 to 5% would be good.
So those 20 phone calls that I'm supposed to do in a day are to prepare for the 3 to 4 scheduled calls the following week.
Yeah, there we go.
So I'm making 100 cold calls, phone calls in a week to get, what is that? Let's say it's just 3. That's 15 to 20 scheduled calls for the following week. So I'm basically closing a fifth of the calls that I'm doing, or I'm setting up a fifth of the calls that I'm doing.
Yeah, and then from there, you probably what are you doing? Maybe 10% of that. So really, it's like 5% of the total calls you make. The cold calls are going to turn into potentially something down the line. So I think it's just preparing to understand what you need to do, and then it's preparing for the call, right? Because I'm sure you don't just make a cold call without going online, researching the company you're calling, finding maybe the person you're calling to see are they the person that you should be talking to.
Well,
tell me some of that you do to prep for those cold calls.
Right. So you can look online to find out who the shot caller is or who the decision maker is. The person you spoke to on the phone is not necessarily the person you need to be speaking to in person. And don't be afraid to ask that question when you're making phone calls. Hi, my name's Jack and I'm with X company. Who am I speaking to today? Chuck's got a lozenge in his mouth. I'm sorry.
Sorry about that. You're speaking to Chuck.
Hi, Chuck. I sell XYZ products, and I looked online. I saw that you guys use some of the products that I sell. Are you a person that I could sit down with and talk about the products we sell and if you guys would purchase from us, or is there someone else I need to speak to?
That would probably be our procurement manager. That'd be Dave.
Dave. Okay. Is there any way I can either speak to Dave or get Dave's email, maybe set up a meeting to talk to Dave next week?
Yeah, I think you could find Dave's email on the website. If you just go to procurement, I think it's in there at the bottom of the page.
Oh yeah, I see here Dave P at procurement.com. Is that the best way to reach out to him, or is there another way to reach out to him?
That's probably the best way to reach out for him for your first contact. Do me a favor, send him an email. If you don't hear back from him within 2 to 3 days, give me a call back. I'll see what I can do for you.
Absolutely. I'm going to send him an email. I'll call you in the next 2 to 3 days. I also, my sales territory, you kind of fall in my Monday sales territory. I'd love to be able to swing by and bring by my line card and my business card. Can I swing by Monday and do that?
Yeah, that sounds great. Let's say around 11:30.
That's perfect. I will be there around 11:30. I'm going to go ahead and email Dave now. I appreciate your time, Chuck. And what do you do for the business?
I'm in operations.
Operations. Okay. So you kind of run the day-to-day?
Yeah, I make sure everything's flowing, orders in, orders out, people are going to right places and jobs are getting done, things like that.
Oh, absolutely. I hear you. I'd love to be able to sit down and talk with you too. I think that I'd be able to offer you a couple of solutions that we have with some of our programs that we use here, and it may make your job easier. So if Dave's not around, or if he is around, I'd still want to talk with you too if we could get something going on together. I'll see you at around 11:30 on Monday.
Sounds good.
All right, thank you, Chuck. I appreciate it. I'll see you later. Thank you.
All right.
Bye. It's that simple.
That simple. That easy, right?
It's that easy.
And all you did, right? You probably spent 10, 15 minutes looking at Google, looking at their website. Maybe you went on the ChatGPT and said, "Hey, chat, I'm about to call these guys. I do XYZ. I think they're a great prospect. What are your thoughts? Give me some key points where I could kind of address something, help them. Do you see any bad reviews on Google that might talk about a product that isn't ours, that they sell or they use, that we can help them give a higher quality and give a better product to their customers?" Things like that are great questions to go in with, right? You're adding value. You're not really pitching. You can say that you've seen something on their website, you've seen some kind of review, something that triggered you to acknowledge that you're possibly a fit, something that shows that you put in 5 to 10%, more than the average Joe, right? Most people aren't going to put in the 5 minutes it takes to understand what a company does. Jack, I'm going to get on the tangent. Reel me back here in about 2 minutes, okay?
Okay, I got you.
I've interviewed so many people for companies that don't even know what the company does. If an interviewer asks you, what do you know about our company? And the interviewee can't answer, what do you think these salespeople are doing? You got 90% of them that aren't looking up. Like they have the job, they are getting paid some partial salary, then commission. They're not doing the 5 minutes of work. So doing the 5, 10, 15 minutes of work that it might take to figure out if this person's even worth your time a day, if it's not a warm call, is going to get your foot in the door way more than just calling them and trying to say, hey, who do I speak to that buys your stuff? They're not going to get – there's going to be a gatekeeper.
100%.
Chuck was a gatekeeper. Jack was nice. He was punctual. He was on the website already. Things like that shows me that Jack's not going to be, two guys in a truck over here, the great company, not just using that as a reference. Like he's not some random dude with a truck trying to sell me, let's say garden supplies.
Yep.
He's a guy who's already done his research and knows that he fits my market. And I think that goes a long way when you have the one-on-one conversations when you're prospecting. That it does great stuff. That little bit of preparation, I think I've seen the stat before. I don't know the exact stat, but it's something like 90% of people don't prep more than 5 minutes for a call. So you're going to beat 90% of people by going 6 minutes.
Yep.
Imagine what you would do if you did 8, 10. I'm sure it's exponential. So if you hit 10, you're probably at 99, better than 99% of people.
Yep. Take a minute, look at their website. Your website is going to tell you a bunch. It's going to give you their address. It's going to give you what their company does. It may give you a mission statement of their company. Your company may not fit the same values that their company does. There may be a disconnect, and it's going to be right there on the website. All you have to do is look at it. It's going to give you, most of them have some form of contact information. I've seen plenty of websites where it's listed every person in the business because there's only 10 or 8.
When it's B2B especially, right? If they're doing B2B work, you're almost always going to see sales reps or somebody on there that you can talk to. Now, when they're doing B2C and you're selling B2B, generally that's a little bit more difficult, and you're going to see like an information or a customer service. Call the customer service guy because he's going to know people in the company, and these guys aren't the most trained people to know that they should be gatekeeping people. You find a corporate number or somebody, they're going to gatekeep you all day, right?
Oh, 100%.
But if you call customer service and say, hey, I got a problem. And you'll be like, oh, what's your problem? Like, I'm actually trying to sell you guys something. I need to get in contact with somebody in procurement. They're going to be like, what? They're going to be like throwing off their game. They're not going to be used to. They're going to be, that's not on my 27 things that I'm used to getting told, asked or told. So I'm going to have to go off script for this, and they're not going to know how to handle it. And they're just going to try to get you out of there and out of their call thing very quickly. You know what they're going to do? They're going to give you a number,
who you need to.
Or they're going to transfer you or give you an email because they don't want to talk to you because they have no idea how to handle it. So, if you're selling into a company who does B2C, call customer support. I guarantee you have a better chance of doing that than getting through a gatekeeper. And most of the time, if you can't find something, don't email. You can email. Go ahead and email the information at blah, blah, blah.com. But then go visit them. And then when you go visit them, be like, hey, I emailed, and I'm just here to follow up on it. Because then the lady at the front desk is like, oh, you emailed. Kind of got her thinking for a second. You don't need to tell her you emailed the information. Just tell her you emailed and you're just coming to follow up. And just be like, she's going to say who you email. Well, whoever the title is that you should be talking to, you should probably go on LinkedIn, go on their thing, go to people, find the person that you think you should be talking to, and use their name.
All this information is at your fingertips.
Yeah.
Every bit of it is at your fingertips. You just got to know where to look and how to dig. And once you figure that out, man, it becomes easy.
Use Gemini, use Gronk, whoever, whatever. Use one of those. They'll find the person on LinkedIn you should be talking to.
Yeah. I do want to touch base to that title above your head there, Chuck. Your first 10 sales calls and how not to panic. I'm going to tell you now, your first 10 sales calls are probably not going to go the way you want them to go.
But that's not bad, right? Like we all
that's
know
not bad. That's not a bad thing. If you make the first 10 sales calls and they go horrible, guess what? You can make the 11th. You can make the 12th. You can make the 20th. Yeah. You know, that's the only way to get to the positive is to beat the negative. I used to work for, I don't know if I could say who I used to work for. I don't care. I used to work for PetSmart, okay? And PetSmart does a toy donation drive every year around the holidays. And it's a $5 stuffed animal. They've changed the shapes of them. They've added to it. It used to be Chance, who was the dog, and then it became Chance and Lucky, which was a dog and cat. Now there's a unicorn and an elephant, whatever. I'm getting off into a tangent. I'm sorry. But thank you for reeling me back. Anyway, so my job was to get my cashiers to ask for the donation. And I kept drilling it into them. The worst thing, the absolute worst thing a customer is going to say to you is, no, I don't want to donate today. And so many people are so scared of rejection. I couldn't get people to ask. Look, would you like to donate $5 and purchase this toy that we're going to donate to the children's home or to I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina. We used to donate to Ace and TJ, the radio station. Like they did it for grandkids. We donated these toys because people in the community paid $5 for these toys. But if you don't ask for it, you're not getting the donation. If you don't ask for it, you're not getting the sale. If you don't continue to ask past the no's, you will never get to a yes. So don't be scared if those first 10 calls don't go your way. Number 11 will, or number 12 will. At some point, you're going to get a positive, and I am going to tell you right now, man, from a sales standpoint, Chuck, I know you've been on the other side of it, and you may not understand this feeling, but there is something magical that happens when you get a yes, and it is like a drug. You want it more. You want it now. You want another win, and that is that competitive nature that is in every sales rep. So now that you got the yes, and you put 5 minutes of work into that prospect customer, and you got the yes, you're like, man, I want another yes. And if it takes me 10 minutes of prospecting, I'm going to do it. If it takes me 15 minutes to figure out this company, I'm going to do it. I'm going to keep pounding on this door. They told me no last time. I know they can use my services. I know they can use the products I sell. I'm going to keep knocking on that door until they say yes. And you are going to go out there and you are going to fight for it because you want that feeling again. I've been in sales now for 2.5 years, almost 3 years, and there is nothing like it. And I go out every day. I'm currently not in a position where I am capable of going out and selling products, and it is killing me to not be out in the field. I have other responsibilities that I have to handle right now, and I'm getting that stuff under control. But man, the second I can get back into my car and I can go visit a customer, I'm jonesing for it. I'm gnawing at the bit for it. And that is what you want. That is the desire that you need to have to make a winner.
So let me jump in here. So
I know I went off.
We're gonna have 20 calls that go bad, let's say. What are we doing to reflect after each call, Jack? What are the things that we need to do after every call, good and bad? Start with the bad because you're just talking about getting rejected, and you kind of got to have thick skin and be okay with rejection. What are we doing after those calls? And then what are we doing after the good calls to make sure we can execute on what happens both ways?
So in this hypothetical, are we making phone calls or are these in-person cold calls?
Let's assume these are just phone calls for now because it kind of applies to both, right? In my mind, if you get rejected on the phone or in person, depending on the information you got, you're still kind of doing the same thing. It might just be a different execution method, but you're still going to be doing the same thing. So just talk about it as if it was a call very broadly. And then if
Yeah.
there's anything you want to add from a perspective of if it was in person and this was said, then give us some details. But keep it, let's say 2 or 3 minutes. Don't get too long on this one. I got more.
Record yourself. Record yourself on a call.
Hold on. Hold on. Disclaimer, please make sure that you are legally recording based on your state. Some states are 2 parties, some states are 1 party. If you're doing it for your job, there's probably like a pre-recording. Just confirm that it's allowed to be recorded. Go right ahead.
And you don't necessarily have to record the other person. Record yourself.
True.
Record yourself. In the conversation, how much talking are you doing? Again, in a prospecting conversation, you should only be doing 20% of the talking. There should be a lot of, absolutely, I understand. And that's really about it. And you asking questions, but if that's not the way you're hearing it when you record yourself, then there's your problem. You're not asking enough questions.
Yep.
Role play. And I know, just like we just did, and people hate to role play. It is one of the worst feelings in the world to sit there with somebody and role play because you don't know what's going to happen. I'm going to tell you, you don't know what's going to happen out there. And if you role play it and a scenario comes up and you see that scenario starting to develop in the real world, you're equipped at this point to take it down the path that you need to take it. But you have to practice. That's what it is. You have to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And the only way to do that is to practice. Record yourself. Talk to yourself in the mirror. Look at your hand gestures. Even if you're on the phone, when you're making hand gestures, that means you're animated. That means you're into a conversation. But does it emphasize the wrong things? Are you focusing on the wrong stuff? Role play it in the mirror with yourself. Talk to yourself. As long as you're not answering yourself, you're okay. That means you're not crazy. But talk to yourself and talk things out. If the situation goes this way, how do I handle it? If it goes that way, how do I handle it? However, you can overthink it 100% of the time. You can overthink it. There is a certain amount of prep you need to do, and if you do too much, you are going to go down this rabbit hole, and you're not going to be able to pull your brain back out of it, and then you've ruined it anyway. You need to role play. You need to have a plan. As long as you have a plan of what you're going to talk about, have some bullet points jotted down, and you've done your research, even if you don't get a yes on these calls, at some point you will. You just got to keep going at it.
Yeah. So I'm going to recap what I've heard. So we're going to be like we were back in the day when all of us were playing a sport in high school. We're going to look at game film. What did we do? What did we do wrong? We're going to take some notes. Did we talk too much? Did we follow our plan? Did we let them talk and tell us the problems? Do we tell them how, if we are in a real sales call, do we tell them how what they've done previously isn't what we are? Have we explained what we are or can do better than what they've done previously? Have we answered their questions and addressed their concerns? If we did all those things and we still got to know, then we are kind of going to be like, well, why did we get the no? Was there something? Did they have another objection? Did our product truly not fit them and we were trying to squeeze a round peg into our square peg into a round hole? Sorry.
Or
those are the things we have to come back to, right?
Or are they currently happy with the person they're buying from?
True, 100%.
And that's right. It could totally be the case. And when I'm faced with that, I tell the person straight up, look, if you're happy with who you're getting it from, by all means, I'm not here to upset the wagon cart here. I'm not here to take you away from anybody. If I'm your number 2, I'll be happy being your number 2. All I'm asking for is an opportunity, to get you the product that you need, but to show you what makes us different, what my service looks like. And I assure you that once you start to see what we can do for you and how we service you, at some point your number 1 is going to fail. Your number 2 hasn't. And then those places switch. Don't be upset if you get in the door as a number 2 or number 3. Take that as a windfall. But you have to prove to that customer you deserve to be their number 1. And you have to work at that constantly. But be happy that you got in the door.
All right, I'm going to add a couple things. We're going to move to the next thing, all right? First thing is you have to execute on your follow-ups. If you do not execute on your follow-ups, if you said you're going to email, you're going to call, you're going to text, you're going to come by, you need to follow up with all those things, because the first time you don't, now they're associating you with not doing what you said you were going to do. And eventually they're going to get that mentality that he doesn't do what he says or she doesn't do what she says. And that's 100%. Not going to be in your favor. So always make sure at the end of the meeting, at the end of the call, I do this in my corporate life. These are the outcomes we talked about. Here are the deliverables that we said you need or I need or whoever's going to execute. And here's the timeline we expect to get them done. And if it's a call or email or another meeting, if it's any of those, make sure they get done. If it's another meeting, as soon as you leave that meeting, book the next, put it on the calendar, book the meeting. If they say they want another meeting, ask them when. Don't leave there without knowing when the next meeting is. I mean, it's not something I created, right? Like, we all know that if you want a meeting, you put it on the calendar. I know there's plenty of, big hype people out there that are big name sellers and business people that have acronyms for them and stuff like that. But like, there's a reason why they do those things, because they work. And so you have to associate you with somebody who delivers and follows up when you're doing these things. So I'm moving on. Jack, I got 2 questions.
What you got?
One is selling simply just a transfer of belief? Or could you really just hard sell everything in life and just get through by being that just real cutthroat seller? Because I have, my opinion is I believe that you should be transferring a belief. And the reason I say that is I don't believe you can truly sell a product that you don't believe in. I think you could hustle to some sales, but I truly don't think you're going to excel in that position if you don't believe your product can deliver results for your customer.
Oh, 100%. If you couldn't back your product, if you couldn't use that product in its application in your real life, if you wouldn't use it, it's not a product you need to be backing. You're not going to be able to sell it.
Yeah, I think the sharing of a belief, really what you're doing in the preparation, right? Not the hard selling call, but the preparation and getting to know people is you're selling them on a belief. The belief that Jack says what he does, Jack can deliver what he says, and what Jack says is true, and what Jack says can help me. Yeah. And Jack, I know we're picking on you. I apologize. But that's the transfer of belief. And if you don't believe in your product, your customers aren't going to believe in it either.
Correct.
I can tell you from experience, I've tried to sell a few things that I've actually owned, and I didn't use the service myself. So when I went out and sold it, somebody's like, well, what about this? And I'm like, well, yeah, if you want it, we could do it. What does that do? It's awful. Yeah. I didn't even believe in my own service. I did a great service, but I wasn't the customer that I was servicing. So when you asked me, I wasn't out there like, oh yeah, you should get this. Let's add on that. Let's upsell you. We're gonna get this looking good. If they asked me if I did the job great, oh yeah, I would be like, yeah, don't worry. Like, I'm gonna spend more time than you're probably paying me for this because I'm a perfectionist and that's who I am, and I could sell that. But I could never sell them and just straight like, hey, we should do these things because like I think they're good for you or your product or your business. Because I just didn't use those for my own business or my own personal use. Why would I? I always had that trouble. So I think if you have a belief in your product, you're good. Now, I've seen it through the years where a sales guy loses belief in his product, and it's evident. The only thing I can say about that, and Jack, I'll give you a chance to talk about it, is that if you lose your belief in your product, find a way to get it back or find a new product. Because you'll go from being a great sales guy who lost his belief. It's like the yips in sports.
Yep.
And you just can't come back sometimes. Sometimes you can. And most of the time it's not the product. most of the time it's the things that have happened in a company or have happened due to management that get you not in that belief mindset anymore. It's not the product most of the time. If it's the product, then that means like somebody iterated a product and it just went to crap. That's hardly ever the case. It's most of the time that a scenario happened where you sold your customer something and then you did something to correct it because there was a mistake made and management yelled at you not to correct it, or the way you did it wasn't correct, even though it was exactly what the customer needed. Like that gets you not to believe in your company. And you need to understand that like those things happen, but the product is still the product. It's still the best product, or at least the product you think can suit the needs. So that's my rant. Go ahead and tell me your thoughts on belief or just hardcore selling.
No, you have to believe in what you're selling because people are gonna see through it. People see through it. I am responsible for roughly, let's just round it up to 1,000 products. It's probably more. I have to know a little bit about everything. And then it's not just the products we offer. There's some services we offer too that I have to know about. If I don't know about something, then how likely am I to pitch that? Even if it's what you need. Like I have to know at least a little bit about everything to talk about it. If I can't even talk about it, nobody's going to buy it from me, let alone me believing in it. You know, I believe that X product is the best product on the market. Are there good products? Are there okay products? Absolutely. Am I able to talk about all of them? Yes. Am I going to tell you that for my project, I'm using this because this works better than these? 100%. Will I sell you the other ones? If that's what you want, if you want to buy based off of price, if you want to buy cheap, yes, I will sell you the cheap product. But if you want to buy on quality, I'm going to tell you why it's quality, why it's better, why the warranty's better, why your customer is going to be happier, why they're okay spending a little bit more money to get top tier than they are getting bottom tier or even mid tier. And then you can explain it to your customer. If I can transfer my knowledge from me to you and get you to transfer that knowledge to your customer, it's creating value down the line. That's what you need. You have to be able to believe in the products you're selling. If you don't believe in it, you don't need to be in that business.
Yeah. So I've listened to a few podcasts, right? One that I've listened to is done by Tommy Mello. He owns A1 Garage Door Service. He took that to this tiny company to now it's nationwide. I think it's like I don't. I'm not even gonna quote the sales. I haven't listened to it in the last few weeks, so I don't know the numbers. But he's pretty much said a lot of the same things, right? He offers premium garage doors. They're more expensive, but he gets custom parts made that has a longer spring shelf life or more durability. He gets the specs made for better parts. He'll sell you the garage door that's $2,000 or $3,000, but just know that you're paying it. That's $2,000 or $3,000. Well, the problem is a lot of places that's what most of the other salespeople are selling, right? And so you have to communicate why your garage door is so much more expensive than that. It's got, instead of a 30,000 rotation spring, you have 100,000 rotation spring. Instead of a flimsy panel, you have 12 gauge panels.
You have to teach yourself how to sell on value and not sell on price.
Yeah. And so the features, and then it's like, how does this relate to the customer? Your sales part then is we have longer lasting springs. It's going to make sure you can get in and out of your house for years to come, while the other springs, you might only get a year or two out of them. You're never going to have to worry about the peace of mind of your car getting stuck when you need to go to work, or while your daughter's waiting outside after school to type in the code to get the garage door open, that it's not going to open and the only way she can get in the house isn't there. Those are the things they're going to sell, right? The features of the garage door, 10,000, 100,000, a million life spring, great. But the idea of somebody's daughter sitting out there in the driveway when she's coming home from work and the door might not open because they went with a cheap $3,000 door, that upsells the $10,000 door. Is it wrong? No, because I guarantee you one day, if you buy the cheap door, that could happen. If you bought the more expensive door, could it happen? 100% could happen. But that's me, or in this case, Tommy and the A1 guys, saying we've tested this so much that we're willing to put our name on the line that this is going to open 100,000 times.
Mm-hmm.
And if it does, great. If it doesn't, well, guess what? The customer's going to be pissed. They're going to get a bad review, and they're not going to be in business. They didn't get to the company they are selling part to private equity because they didn't deliver on that. And so I think that's the key to trusting the product, right? That shows. I mean, he's talked a lot about, things that you've talked about is doing a lot of role playing. I mean, there's other companies that literally do hours of role play every day before they send their sales guys to go sell. So, I feel like a lot of these things that if you look at the big companies that really are like sales engines, they do it. It goes a long way. I think where a lot of people miss it is as an employee, you don't realize how much work goes into sales. With like Tommy Mello and those guys, I mean, they do tons and tons of practice. They believe in their product. They sell the feeling that the customer is going to get by having the superior product. So that's why belief matters in the product so much. Getting back on topic here. I have some show notes, the top 10 tips for the first 10 sales calls. I'm going to go over the 10 of them, Jack, real fast. And
go for it.
I'm not going to read them verbatim. They will be down in the show notes in either the podcast or the YouTube. So please, if you want to see them, print them out, put them up. Great. Look at them. Starting at 1, do quick prep, at least 5 to 10 minutes before every call or meeting. Have a simple outline, like Jack said, bullet points, a script, something for you to be able to reference and not sit there like a deer in the headlights. Jack, you look like you wanted to say something there.
I'm trying not to cough again, man. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Good. Good. You can mute yourself to cough. Continuing. Focus on listening. You should be listening 20 or 80% and talking 20%. Maybe even less, depending on what kind of call it is. Embrace the nerves. Like Jack said, you're only going to be comfortable to be uncomfortable, but you're going to get used to it. So you'll move on with life. There's always the next call. If something happens, recover gracefully. If you stumble, brain fart happens, just keep going with the pitch. We're all human. Everybody's okay with it. It's not going to be that big of a deal. Take a breath, move on, no big deal. All right. Review and reflect. Look at that game tape. Listen to the recording. If you have a good rapport with the customer, ask the customer what you could have done better. I mean, those are all key things. Like Jack said, I don't know if it was last episode or the episode before. We don't know how bad we are until you tell us. So please let us know how bad we are. Moving right along, because I don't want to hear how bad we are. Keep it conversational. I think there is times to be very buttoned up presented in sales pitches. So don't get me wrong. Definitely there's a place and time. Don't get that wrong because that's a big no-no. But most of the time, especially in the early calls, it's conversational. If you were calling me like Jack did and I was operations and he was trying to sell, conversational. Just light, nothing too crazy. Don't worry about it. Just embrace it. Next is focus on value. Like I said, focus on what value, not the features, not the 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 springs. My daughter's not sitting outside after school because my garage door won't open. My car's not stuck when I need to get to that meeting at 9:00 with my CEO. I'm not missing a sales call because you messed up the sales call. Those kind of things are what we need to focus on value. Learn from feedback. Again, review and reflect, but when you get feedback from another salesperson, from the customer, from a customer's customer, those are all great feedback. So if Jack's selling me something and I get a bad Google review about his product, that's a reflection on him, not necessarily
100%.
me. It's also me because I chose to use Jack, but it's on both of us. So we need to reflect on feedback, good or bad. And then stay positive and stay persistent. There's always the next call. There's always another product. Once you learn how to sell, it's one of the best skills you'll ever have. So just keep looking forward, keep making little adjustments, and going on from there. Jack, I think we have some QA. Do you want me to pitch you the questions, or do you want to pitch me the questions and I give answers? Which one you want to do?
How about I give you the first question and then we just go back and forth? Should we do that?
Sure.
All right. So the first question we
hold
got.
Hold on.
Yeah.
And these are questions. I went to ChatGPT and I said, Chat, this is the topic I'm going to be covering today. And I was like, what would my listeners potentially want to know that I need to make sure we cover 100%? And Chat said, my listeners will want to know these questions. So that's where they came from, just making sure that somebody out there might have these questions, and that's why we're asking them. And if you have other questions, leave them down in the chat or send us an email. You can find our email on our YouTube page, so feel free to do that. All right, Jack, go ahead. Sorry about that.
What are a couple of practical tips from the episode that I can use right away to feel more confident before I pick up the phone?
So you can look at our tips that we just talked about in the notes, but really it's going to be spend the time researching the company, spend the time practicing mock sales calls with somebody. If you have to sit in the office, knock on a door, open the door, and go through the whole thing, fine. Especially if you're a door-to-door salesperson, like practice actually knocking. The knock is the scariest part. If you're making cold calls, dialing a number and someone picking up and hanging up on you immediately is the scariest part. I love there's an Irish YouTuber / TikTok Instagram guy that he just does. His whole thing is sales calls. His number one thing is like, would you be completely devastated if I told you this was a sales call? And he's calling like corporate 500 companies to teach them sales. And every single time the guy laughs, gets a good laugh, and then gets to go right into his speech because no one hangs up. So like, just breathe, figure out a way to break the ice. You're going to be fine. The third one is don't change any of your script that is not tied to the company that you've researched. If you should have stock things you need to cover or stock questions you're going to ask, don't change that for the first 20 or 30 calls, maybe even more, because you want to do an A and B test, right? If you don't do enough calls, you can't A and B test. If you're doing it and this is your own company, definitely don't change it immediately. Make sure you go through enough calls that you can say, I have a good sample size, and then change it. And then if one performs better than the other, great. But the problem is if you tweak one thing after 2 calls, another thing after 3 calls, 4 things after 8 calls, what works? You don't know, because everybody you've called is completely different. Most of the people who are getting into sales as a career, your company is going to give you some kind of training, some kind of script, some kind of bullet points of things you probably should be asking. Don't change them. Your company does that, especially if it's a big company, because it's worked. And if you change them, you're messing with a process that they figured out the statistics on paper that will work.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's probably the best 3 things I would say, besides the other 10 tips we're going to leave in the comment or in the notes. So, Jack, anything you want to add to that real quick?
No, I think those 3 actually go back to those 10 that you rattled off a couple minutes ago. It's you have to the thing to take away from this is to don't stop trying. Don't stop trying. Again, those first 10 calls are not going to go the way that you think they're going to go. They're not going to go the way you want them to go. Something's going to happen. You're going to find a stumbling block and you will stumble. Learn from it. Grow from it. Have someone listen in on your call and give you some feedback. Build on the knowledge of others. Listen to the people who have already traveled the path that you're starting on. There are people who are seniors in your company that you could reach out to and ask questions to. Be thirsty for knowledge, and that's going to help you grow in your position.
All right.
You want to go to the second question?
Yeah, second question. So, Jack, my name's David. How can I handle someone who is throwing tough questions or objections at me that I'm really not prepared for?
So try to be as prepared about the products that you're offering as possible, first of all. Second of all, don't think that pausing or hesitating for a moment, taking a moment to regroup or recap a question is a negative on you. It's okay if a tough question that comes at you, be like, it's a really good question. So let me just clarify what you're asking is da 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 da. Okay, let me see if this is a satisfactory answer for you. This product will do X, Y, and Z. And go into the features of it again. I will tell you one of the main questions I get all the time is, that's nice. What's the price? How much is it? Again, I'm not selling you on price. If I sell you on price, I'm going to lose. There are margins built into these things. There are people who are out there undercutting you. And I am not Walmart, okay? I want to be Target, or I want to be Publix. I want to be able to sell you at a higher margin for the same product that this person's selling you at the lower margin because my service is better. I'm better. You're not just buying the product, you're buying me. You get me as your sales rep. You get me as your advocate. You get me as your knowledge base. Something goes wrong, I'm there for you. Something goes right, I'm there for you. You don't know about the product as the sales rep? Know who does. You get a tough question and you can't answer it. It's okay to say that. That is a great question. I honestly do not know the answer, but I do know who to ask. When I leave here, I will get them on the phone. I will find out the answer, and I will either call you, text you, or email you the answer to that question.
Jack, have you ever called the specialist, we'll call it, in the middle of a sales call?
100%. 100%. If they're okay with it, absolutely.
And what better than to show that you can call the guy that's going to get him the answer, and that guy's going to pick up because you called, right?
100%.
That shows that what you were just saying. They're buying a commodity.
Yep.
A garage door, commodity. But you know what's not a commodity? That Jack can make a phone call and get anybody he needs to help him get you the answer, because your guys are in the field and need to know if that L bracket needs to go 2 seconds or 2 millimeters to the left or 3 inches to the right, or if it's bent. That is the process of what you're selling, right? You're not selling the commodity. You're selling the service of Jack, and that can't be commoditized because not everyone's going to answer the phone when they call like you do. Go ahead.
And that's another thing. If you are in a business where you sell a product and there is a manufacturer rep, you have to have a damn good relationship with your manufacturer reps. Because if you are going to make that phone call in front of a customer, you want that person to answer the phone. You don't want them sending you to voicemail. I have a great relationship with all of my manufacturer reps. I know that if I make that phone call and they don't answer, it's for a damn good reason that they didn't answer that phone. It's not because they saw Jack on the phone and they're rolling their eyes. It's because they're in a meeting already, or they're doing something already that they've been taken away. But you need to know that 9 times out of 10 that you make that phone call, that person's going to answer. And they're going to answer in a way that makes it sound like you have a relationship with them, not just you're another sales rep in their eyes.
Yeah.
Because that adds value. And that's what you're selling, is the value.
All right, Jack, let's jump to the next question. Go ahead. Go ahead. Kick it off.
How do I know when it's the right time in the conversation to actually ask for the sale or move to the next step?
So Jack, you kind of touched on this real early, right?
We did.
You know when you can ask for the sale, when you've built rapport, you feel like there's nothing else you can add to the conversation. The customer hasn't blatantly said no already. Because if you don't have those things, or they're just not interested, by the time all that happens, you're going to know. They're either going to tell you, hey, I like my current guy, I'm good, but thanks for the opportunity. or they're going to say, hey, yeah, we only compete on price and we don't care about your service. You're going to have signs that it's okay to ask because of other things they've said. In my mind, if you don't know it's okay to ask, you probably didn't ask the right questions and you were talking too much. You didn't do the 80-20, you did the 20-80.
Yep.
And so that's the big cue. And when you ask, I want to put it out there, pause. Don't say nothing after you ask for the sale. After Jack says, hey, I've done all this. I think we're right. My understanding is you need X, Y, Z of this. I'll send the invoice over. Does that sound good?
And then don't say a word.
Jack's going to be quiet for 8 to 10 seconds.
And don't break eye contact. Yeah. Look at them.
And let them, first of all, if you've done your job, they're going to look at you and say, yeah, that sounds about right. And then you're going to say, invoice coming over in 10 minutes right now. It depends on how your business works, but like get it over immediately, because the number one problem is after you get the sale is actually collecting on the sale or getting it in. I've sold, I did marketing and sales for a concrete company. And I would sell the job, but we wouldn't, the guy I worked for only collected deposits in person. We had a job that came and we thought it was booked. The guy called back 2 days later and unbooked it. So get the sale, get it on the books, get it in writing, get it in whatever you need to do to make it happen. And after that, if they come with more objections, answer the objection and ask for the sale again. After about the third or fourth time you ask for a sale, you kind of got to look at it as one of two things. Either you didn't really clarify everything that needed to be talked about up front, or this person's probably never going to buy from you. Mm-hmm. Really, that's what it's going to boil down to. Because if you did all your homework and you've done everything you could, and they're still like, oh, what about this? What about that? What about this? And you've already addressed those things, they're just making excuses. They're not in a position to buy. They're in a position to dance around, to not make a decision, to put it off, but not to buy. And it happens.
And that's not to say to give up on that customer.
No, but to walk away from that conversation.
Yeah.
At that point, because you're not going to be building the relationship any stronger, right? You're going to be probably doing damage, or if not, just wasting your time.
Yeah.
So just if you've asked to buy a couple times and they still have objections, be like, look, I just don't think we're going to get here today. I'm so happy that you've let me come in to do this. I'm happy to address any other concerns that you might have, or provide more education about the product. How can I do that? What can I do for you additionally? What else can we do? And try to take the conversation that way, in my mind. You don't want to just say, well, you're not going to buy, I'm leaving. How do we provide them more so that eventually we will get back?
Yep.
Sometimes it takes a lot longer for some people. And I don't want to say you should give up on everybody, right? But there is a point where you those people, after the first couple times of that happening, are going to fall lower down on your list that you're going to call. You still want good rapport with them, but they're not going to be the first person you call when you need to go get sales.
It's a relationship, and is your relationship toxic, or is it a healthy relationship? There should always be an even amount, or a close to even amount of give and take in a relationship. If you're starting to give way more than you're getting, that becomes a toxic. If they're giving way more than you're giving, if they're giving you more than you're giving them, that's also a toxic relationship. You need to reevaluate yourself in that situation and what you're doing wrong. Should always be close to 50-50 give and take. If it becomes lopsided, it's becoming a toxic relationship, and you need to correct course. Otherwise, it's going to be a burden on you.
Anything else you want to add on that? Or are you good, bud?
No, I know we kind of made it through the notes and everything. I want to put this out there as well for anyone who is a sales rep. It's great to get the elephant. It's great to go out there and get that big customer. Don't make that your focus. 1,000 mice compared to one elephant is still a better deal than the one elephant. If you will land an elephant, I'm not telling you not to go out there and do that. I am saying focus more on the 1,000 mice because it's going to be better for you in the long run than the one elephant will in the long run.
Yeah, I think that's a good principle. I'm going to make this short. If your business is 40% or more with one customer, it puts you in jeopardy of what happens to that one customer. That's as if you're a salesperson. If you run your own business, it falls the same way. So get it. Take the money, take the business, but know that that's a problem. And how do you address those risks and adjust your business to make sure that you're minimizing the risk exposure you have? Is what I would say there. I'm not going to tell you how to do it. That's a different episode. We're already in over an hour. I'm not going to get into that, but that's definitely kind of where we're going. So first of all, I want to thank everyone for listening. We appreciate it. I know it's a long episode. I think it was really good on sales. Jack lent us a lot of his knowledge from his background. I gave you some of my knowledge from being the person that gets to say no all the time. And so we greatly appreciate that. Please check us out on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Leave a comment, like, subscribe. Obviously, it inflates our egos, and we already got big enough heads, but it also helps people find the podcast. So we'd appreciate that. Next week, we will be covering, give me 1 second as I log into the giant list of things. We're going to cover cheap pricing. Helps you, ... often false. Everybody
Often
says
false.
It's right. Jack was kind of talking about it a little bit today. Are we a commodity? No, we don't want to be a commodity. We want to be above a commodity. We want to be a one of a kind that no one else can put a price on. So that'll be next week's episode. Hold us to it. I know that the last couple episodes we said something was going to be the episode, and we kind of changed it on you. So
Deviated.
A little peekaboo. You can't see me, but this time we're going to hold to it. So again, we thank you. We appreciate it. If you haven't listened to episode 0 or episode 1, feel free. We want your feedback. That's all for me. Jack, take us out.
Guys, I appreciate it. As you notice, to that one customer or that one person, that listener says Jack needs to put a shirt on. I had a shirt on this time. Punk off. Do you understand me? I hope you get what I'm saying, buddy. I really do. Guys, thank y'all for listening. We appreciate it. Y'all have a good night.